up and walk across the stream on the path the way we came. Still lighthearted, feeling the beauty of the day, the blue sky, the birds, the awareness of nature, and how everything lives and dies. And this is the way of life. And the awe of the gift of participation in life freely. And we make our way back to the doorway into the white room. And collect ourselves into this dimension, holding our attention inside as we come back. Thank you, everyone. That was quite beautiful.
Thank you all.
This is how we extend our love. Every human being is capable. And we don't pay attention to outcome. We offer our best. We participate in the highest as best we can. And then we leave it to God. See, we have no control over what and when happens. That's not up to us. It's way beyond our pay grade. And so even though we attempt to control as much as we can, we keep ourselves as healthy as we can. But there's nobody who gets out of here alive. But it doesn't have to be about suffering. That suffering is a choice that we make inside us. We all have pain. Some much worse than others. But one thing we've noticed, Rebecca, as a physician, is that there are good drugs for the pain. So our fear of suffering it's really our fear of change that makes the suffering. So our work is to see that every time there is a change, we have a choice between fear and suffering on the one hand and embracing the change with as much equanimity as we can muster, not denying our fear and insecurity, but embracing it as part of the process of any change. And each of us goes through deaths and rebirths in this dimension a number of times in our lives, if we're lucky, because it's part of the process of personal evolution. And when we understand that, we never can see what the rebirth is going to bring. So we train ourselves to allow knowing that in our cultivation of alignment with the source of the all that is, that we are doing great benefit to our own lives and every life our life touches. We welcome your questions. We're so grateful for your participation in this. Mm. Yes.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to thank you for last week. I was feeling very tight and tied up because I was thinking about having to move to a place that I wasn't happy with. And what you said made me reflect back on every place I've ever lived, and it's always been a wonderful place. And I just feel, I feel so much lighter the whole week. It's like the right place is there and I don't need to worry about it. And I just want to thank you for lightening my load for me. So thank you.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. This is huge. We're so happy to hear this. So lightness is one of the keys to more lightness, we would say. And all of us are born with a certain amount of heaviness. And when our life is difficult and our matrix of belief doesn't allow us to search for the lightness, then it gets more and more contracted. And so it's of huge benefit to allow the lightness, to go toward the lightness. There is always pain in life. It's unavoidable. It's suffering that we have a choice about. And very often, you know, we're speaking to everyone here, not just the person who gave us feedback. Very often what we do in our life is when the pain comes, we generalize it to our past experience and we start to use it to spiral down deeper into suffering. Oh, this always happens to me. And we become a victim. We choose victimhood, and it's a choice. So when we're in pain for any reason, it's a good idea to first of all acknowledge that we're in pain. I'm not comfortable with this situation. That is a way of saying I'm in pain. And so we acknowledge our pain, and then we make a conscious choice not choose victimhood, to not say anything like anybody else did this to me, or this always happens to me, or any other choice that we make other than saying, okay, I'm in pain. What can I do to make this lighter? And we allow the pain to be there. And we check and see if there's any other feeling along with it. And usually there'll be 6 or 7. Shame, guilt, fear, depression, you name it, they'll show up. And then you pick the one that is the strongest. And you say, hello, fear. That's often at the root. Or hello, shame. Let's say it's fear. You say, hello, fear. How may I serve you? And the first thing you do is look around and make sure that your life is not in danger. And then you invite the fear. You feel where you feel it in your body. Very often it's the solar plexus or below the belly button. And wherever you feel it, you take your attention there and you say, thank you. Thank you, fear, for showing yourself so that I may resolve you into love. Or let's say into peace. Thank you. I'm sorry that this fear is keeping me from connection to my highest best. I love you to my highest best. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. And the fear, like a leprechaun, will turn into something else. So you go to that. Hello, rage. Thank you for coming. Thank you for showing me that you exist in me. I'm sorry that this rage is keeping me from being in alignment with the highest best. I love you, my highest best. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. Whatever order it comes. And it may change 100 times. You don't have to do it all at once. You do it until you feel some peace. And then it will likely come back again. And this is how you work with these strong feelings that we all have regularly. And we begin to transform ourselves from victimhood to a whole different way of being inside ourselves. We see the world the way we are. If we see reasons to fear everything outside of us, then we live in fear. As we work with that fear, then it will shift to something else. And when we learn to work with our own suffering in this way, we begin to pull the heaviness out of the bag we carry on our shoulder of past wrongs. That we didn't have the tools to right in ourselves. And that bag of heaviness gets lighter. Thank you so much for acknowledging that lightness. We're so grateful. How may we serve further? Yes.
Victor from Anasa about perspective on mantra practice and going to the kind of like
So the question is, what does Anasa think about mantra practice and the pain of life? Mantra practice can be like a surgical intervention into the pain of life. Mantra practice is most often a series of Sanskrit syllables that have meaning, but the meaning is carried in the sounds of the syllables. Sanskrit is reputed to be a spiritual language. And so when we come to mantra, it's the spirituality of sound. And so the mantra itself is the frequency that as we repeat the mantra, the frequency changes our frequency. And the more we say the mantra, the more we absorb its frequency. And in India, it's a science that if you say a certain mantra a certain number of times, then you have become that frequency. And there are ways to say mantra that make a tremendous amount of difference. When you say it to the outer world, you are gifting the outer world. So if your attention is outside, while you're saying the mantra, there's still benefit, but the benefit's not exactly in you. It's going out. So it's important to say the mantra to our inner. And one of the ways to draw our attention inside is, if you have a mala, many of the malas that you can get have beads every quarter of them. A mala is a necklace. I don't have one on. That's 108 beads, and very often they have beads every 27. There's a larger bead every 27th. And then 54th. And then whatever 27 and 54 is, can't do it from here. But and so there are 3 beads that make it into a quarter. And you can say mantra, you can say it out loud for the first 27 times, and then whisper it for the next 27 times, and see how it changes inside you, how your awareness changes. And then the third 27, you just say it on the inside and watch your energy. And then you can do whichever one feels the best to you. The 4th set of 27. And that's a way to work with mantra, to begin to feel what it's like to take it deeper and deeper into yourself. And we would say it's been Rebecca's training with mantra that the first mantra one can say to open the doorway is Ganesh mantra. And there are different ways to do mantra. And different requirements depending on the level of external service one is participating in the world. So if one is a renunciate, or their life is about spirituality, then the mantras are longer and they take more time. But if one is participating in the world, the mantras are shorter and they take less time, but they are effective. So one that astrologers use a lot, what they do for Ganesh is Om Gam Ganapatiye, Om Gam Ganapatiye, Om Gam Ganapatiye, Om Gam Ganapatiye. You can do that 108 times in about 10 minutes. And so, since the mantra is about changing your inner state, and the number of times is important, then that's how you can have a life where you're doing things all day and get that number in pretty easily. So mantras are a way of self-empowering. So they're about vibration, frequency. And said consistently, they can make a great change. And when you begin to say a mantra, well, you always begin with saying the Ganesh mantra 3 times before you begin any other mantra. And at the end of the mantra practice, you say, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And that closes the mantra practice. So if you're so inclined, doing 108 Ganesh mantras doesn't take very long, and it can begin to give you a taste of what mantra practice is. So there are other ways to practice. You can say it into each of the channels. I mean, each of the energetic chakras, and feel. You can say it slower on your breath. Om Gam Ganapatiye. Om Gam Ganapatiye. Om Gam Ganapatiye. And just feel into it with your breath. Or you can go Om Gam Ganapatiye, Om Gam Ganapatiye, Om Gam Ganapatiye, Om Gam Ganapatiye as fast as you can. So it's really up to you. But the important thing is to keep your attention inside. Is mantra practice essential? Well, what we'll say is it's a way, it's a spiritual technology and a way to, one of the things it does is when you're saying a different frequency, you can't be concentrating on another frequency. Now you'll notice that your mind will try to take your attention anyway, and that's a very interesting thing that mantra does, is it makes you aware of how often you wander off. So we think mantra is a very good thing. We like Bhutan, where instead of a gross national product, they're concerned about gross national happiness. And so they only allow Westerners in for 3 weeks. Nobody can stay longer than 3 weeks, precisely because they don't want to be contaminated by our matrix of belief. That chasing the dollar is the way. That'd be a good title for a book. the Tao of chasing the dollar. Or maybe the Tao of not chasing the dollar. Does that help?
Seems it changes from day to day. I mean,
In what way?
depth, power, direction. Span.
No. And you have plenty of experience with it. So for you, think about allowing the mantra to say you instead of efforting. Just feel it rise up in you because it's already there. And then it becomes your friend. And you just kind of reach for it inside and then allow it. Because it never stops in you once you've taken it in like that, which of course you have. And this is what to look forward to. There is a time when mantra starts to say you instead of you saying the mantra. It's no longer effort. But it's best to do one mantra. And the reason for a mala is it helps you keep count because these are spiritual technologies based on numbers. But at the same time, it doesn't matter because it's about taking the energy in. But the most important thing is to be consistent. So, 108 short mantra, 100 saying a short mantra 108 times every day is enough. And it's best to do it in the morning. And if you have a ton of time, which I don't think anybody on this call does, but if you do, You can say it 108 times. The Indian way to do it is first thing in the morning, early, as the sun is rising, which is not so early now, and then at noontime, and then again in the evening as the sun is setting. 108 times, 3 times a day. But that's not required. Saying something 108 times once a day is enough. If your intention is to be in union with the highest best, that is life-changing. And mantra is one of the tools for actualizing that. It's not necessary. And some people feel really drawn to it and other people don't. But it's one of the tools that can make the path shorter. Because it changes your frequency pretty quickly. Any questions about that? Or anything else? Do you feel complete with that? And the reason we say it's not necessary is not because we don't have enormous respect for it. Mantra is a great tool. But there are spiritual practices that don't use any tools at all. Like Advaita Vedanta, where you just understand that you are that which you seek. And you open inside and become that. You just merge with that. You go directly there. And Rebecca studies with those teachers too. Because that's a valid path. But she's also quite drawn to mantra, and you know that is just because of the way she's put together. How else may we serve this morning? Oh my goodness, it's 11:20. How did that happen? So let's go back into meditation. And if you want, you can try the mantra. So take your attention inside and meditate in whatever way you wish. We will be channeling our energy outward. Feel free to take it in any way You wish. Thank you so much for coming today. It's been really so beautiful to sit with you, to work with you, to have this time together. Thank you so, so much. Till next week. Bye for now.